Bing bong. I'm back with another edition of the State of Bitcoin podcast where I've got Ben, Gen Z for BTC in the waiting room. So we're going to talk about his orange pill story, what his mission is behind Gen Z for BTC, and much, much more. So stay tuned for that. But shout out to my sponsor. Shout out to Pleb Lab down in the Mecca in Austin, Texas. They've got Startup Day August 21st and 22nd. So be sure to get your tickets. You can go to pleblab.com, get your tickets. There's going to be a lot of panels, a lot of startups presenting their cool ideas, companies, products, services, all that kind of stuff. So be sure to go in and check that out. That is right before BitBlock Boom. So if you're going to BitBlock Boom, pop in a couple days early, hang out with some Bitcoiners. And if you haven't bought your ticket for BitBlock Boom yet, use promo code Green Candle. That's all one word, all lowercase, Green Candle at bitblockboom.com, and you'll get 10% off your entire order. So be sure to do that and join me and a bunch of other Bitcoiners down in the Mecca in Austin, Texas, August 21st through like the 26th, 7th, 8th or so. So yeah, it should be a good time. So enough from me. We've got Ben in the waiting room here. Ben, how we doing today, man? How you doing?
Good. Thank you for having me on. It's a pleasure to be on here, getting to talk to all you guys. Get to talk to you, Brandon. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, of course. So we had a little mix up trying to get it in person, but I'm glad we were able to get it to work out here and have you on here today. But for those who don't know yet, don't know the mission behind Gen Z for BTC, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so my name is Benjamin. I am currently 13. I'm about to turn 14. I live in Florida, and I was just down in Bitcoin Miami, and I got to talk to a bunch of people, and I had an idea before about teaching the youth and teenagers about Bitcoin because we're not taught it in school. So that's how all this got started, the idea to inform and teach the kids about what we need to know about money and Bitcoin.
Yeah, that's great stuff. So, I had the pleasure of meeting you and your mom a little bit before this. And your mom told me she orange pilled you. So tell us a little bit
Yeah.
about that story. How did that happen? And how did you receive it as first? Because I know, like, for me personally, I think I'd probably discredit it and be like, all right, mom, like, enough of that
hmm
right away. So how did that conversation end up going? And how did she end up, like, kind of, I guess, converting you and giving you that orange pill?
Yeah, so I'm gonna go back a long, long time ago from when my mom first got into it. So I think I don't know the exact dates. I don't want to be wrong on this, but like this was like right after it came out, like a year or two after it came out. My mom heard about it from one of her like nerdy college friends, and she was like gonna buy some Bitcoin. But at that time, that was when you would have to like go meet somebody in the McDonald's parking lot and give them like $500 and hope they didn't take it. So my mom was about to do that twice, like how to actually like meet it up, and then she canceled out on it because she was too nervous, which is understandable, being a woman going meeting some random dude in a parking lot. But then 2018 came along, I think she said, like the last bull market or around that time. She saw it. She's like, oh, dang, I should have bought it a year ago. It's too late now. So she didn't do it. And then this time, so 2 years ago, I think it was 2019 or no, I think it was 2020. She decided to give herself $500 for Christmas present and learn how to trade Bitcoin and make accounts and educated herself really well on how it worked to a basic standpoint, how to do everything securely and safely, because that's what mattered to her. And I remember it was Christmas break. Every single time I would walk out of my room from playing video games or come inside from being outside playing with my friends, she would just have videos up teaching her about Bitcoin and money and what's happening around the world. And she would tell me, hey, Ben, this is really important. You should go look up these videos so you can see what's happening. And I was like, I'd rather go play video games. I'd rather go outside, which is understandable because I was like 11, I think, 11 or 12, just trying to have fun. Didn't matter to me that much. And then, like, just even after Christmas break, just throughout the year, I remember just always seeing her having videos up and she kept learning. And I even watched like one or two like videos, but like I saw it. I knew Bitcoin was important, like because people would say it's important, but I didn't understand why and how it like would actually play a role. So it didn't matter to me that much. And then again, I watched like a couple more videos, didn't do too much. And then I would say about like a year ago, I watched a video and it just clicked in my head. And that was after I got explained about the Canada trucking event and how all that protesting went and the donations and stuff and whatever all that stuff happened. Really just blew my mind that the government was able to stop you from donating. And that was just crazy in my mind. And then it really clicked that Bitcoin is like just a separate currency separated from fiat money, and you don't have to worry about the government controlling you. And then I just stayed up all night one night watching videos. And I was like, somebody was sponsored by Bitcoin Miami or something. Somebody brought up Bitcoin Miami. I was like, we live in Florida. We could drive down there. And I was like, hey, mom, can we go here? And she already knew about it. And she, like, at first she said, no, it's too expensive because she has to work and I have school. And then she was like, you know what? Maybe. So she just like kind of waited some time, and like actually, no, 3 weeks after, she's like, "Hey Ben, you still want to go to Bitcoin Miami?" And I was like, "Yeah, I really want to go." So then she reached out to Greg Foss. Shout out to him. He surprisingly answered my mom really quick, I remember, and was like, "Yeah, it would be fine to bring a kid out." She was just asking if it would be fine to bring a kid. And then that's how all that happened. And my idea was also to teach kids because I remember the struggle of me learning like the basics, like learning where to start, because it's not like a straight line to learn. You have to learn some about money. You have to learn about like history of money to be able to fully understand Bitcoin and what its purpose is. So that's how my idea came along. Sorry to go on. That's basically the whole story.
Oh man, that's great stuff. That's what these are for, right? For you to go on and
Mm-hmm.
learn these things. So, I mean, that's overall just awesome. But for somebody, you said what you're just starting freshman year of high school, right?
Yeah.
So how did I guess how does this like I guess kind of like you brought up the videos, right? So I feel like that's a great way to learn. Do you remember the video that like kind of like the title or the name maybe of the one that like really helped you click?
Oh gosh.
If
Yeah, I remember
curious.
it really well. Oh my, I literally was just talking to somebody about this earlier, and I always forget the name. I've watched um World Money. I could go on my phone and check. Here, I'm gonna see if it's on my YouTube history really quick. I remember I watched so many of them, like all of them. If you name any of the popular ones, then it'll click to my head. But I've watched all of them. Any of the pretty much. I'll state it like this: any of the documentaries that basically went through a timeline of Bitcoin with lots of visual cues, because I'm really better visually than auditory, and it's like candy to my mind. Just learning the history of it, learning how it affected the world, and even learning about all the anonymous groups, like that all came into play with how Bitcoin is going to affect the world. You get what I mean? Like
Yeah,
it doesn't have to
yeah.
be a video straight up
So
of facts. It has to explain like why and how it matters.
yeah, for sure. I mean, that's great stuff. But for you, it seems like it's pretty. I mean, at least for when I was your age, at least I feel like I wasn't very interested in these kind of things.
Mhm.
So when you like talk to your friends and other things at school, maybe at sports practice or whatever, do any of them, I guess one like know that you're a big Bitcoiner? Or like have any sort of care in the world about Bitcoin or like fiat money or anything like that?
Yeah, that's a great question because I do football and wrestling like full time. I play both sports. I'm going to both practices every day. And a bunch of my friends know that I'm involved in Bitcoin and like they've seen me bring books to school and stuff. They don't question it that much. Like a lot of people just see it as like, oh, he's doing his Bitcoin. Like they say it kind of is a bad thing. Like he's doing his Bitcoin because like they know I'm not like a nerd, and they wonder why I'm reading a book instead of bringing the football lunch table. And I get like mixed feelings. Some like smart kids in school, ones that get like good grades and are halfway educated about money, are like, "Hey Ben," like they come up to me and genuinely ask, like, why are you trying to learn about Bitcoin when it just crashed all the way down?" And they said you could be in like a 401k or using any of the other things that are more safe and secure. And I like just that's when it clicked that we're not taught about anything in school. And even the kids that have straight A's and are in all the advanced classes, they still don't know anything about what's happening with our money and what they're getting into as soon as they graduate and get their first job at McDonald's or whatever. As soon as they get their paycheck and they realize they have to pay bills and taxes and everything, and then I feel like it's too late a lot of the time when they get into all that debt. I just feel like it's sad that kids don't have a chance. Like, the saying that you get Bitcoin when you deserve it? People get into Bitcoin when they deserve it. I don't think kids deserve to get into it 10 years from now just because they weren't taught it simply. Like, even if like they were taught it and they didn't like care that much about it, it's understandable because they're a kid and they don't have to pay for their stuff. And that's when I get to like the age of 16 to like 20, like low 20s. Like, if you're not taught about it, then that's not fair because you don't even know there's another option to go to. You get what I mean? That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to help.
Yeah, and that's great stuff. And I mean, you named a demographic that you're very close to, right? The age 16 to 20. And that's a very interesting demographic, right? Because, one, they're like either still in high school or like just graduating and maybe in
Yeah.
college. And majority of those kids are making minimum wage, doing something like, I don't know, McDonald's, weekend
Mm-hmm.
representing. I was a lifeguard for a little bit. You just kind of get these like little jobs here or there.
Mm-hmm.
You're
Like
not
little
making a lot of
paychecks.
money. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not making a lot of money and it's taxed a lot. And then you're usually just told to kind of put that in a savings account and then it
Mm-hmm.
just sits there forever. And then, that by that time when, you get to the age of wanting to use that for something, I don't know, meaningful, maybe a house or something like that, you're going to need like 10 times the amount of what you're able to save because, the devaluation of your currency. So, I know you said you get kind of like, I guess, the nerdy kids who maybe like understand a little bit more about finances that come up to you and ask you more about like 401ks and things like that. But it seems like that's, I guess, like, to me, I wasn't really taught that in school. It's more so from the parents kind of side of things.
Yeah, the parents.
Yeah.
Well,
So
yeah, they're not taught that at school. Like, go on. What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say, like, do you think like basically that's just kind of where you've had your advantage is like your mom was really into it, and so like you've been able to like kind of, I guess, been guided in the right direction, whereas like
Yeah.
most kids, their parents are like put it in the savings account and 401k and that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. So
Yeah,
yeah, I would say that like the kids that I've talked to that know anything definitely learn from their parents because like lots of parents like are successful business owners or own little businesses, and in order to own a business, you have to understand money to a basic level and how it works and how it moves around because that's just how it is. Like a book that I read a long time ago, like 2 or 3 years ago, was Rich Dad Poor Dad. And like, even though it's not like the most liked book, I think it's a great like starter book because it's super easy to read and it just like showed me so much of the world and how it's actually not so perfect in America money wise. And like, if kids just learned a little bit about that, then they could realize it's important to like know there's another option or like I don't even know. I think we're not taught anything in school. Last year in civics, the class I expected to learn about money, I would always ask the teacher every single new quarter or new semester, "Are we going to learn about money this semester?" She's like, "No, Ben, we're not learning about money. Go read a book about it or go ask your mom." And I was like, "Okay." Like, she was like mad at me for asking, even though I only asked like 5 times the whole year. And I was just mind blown because we were supposed to learn about American government history over like the last 200 years, and we never learned about any of the financial decisions, which blows my mind because that's also how a government forms, is all the financial decisions they made. Like in world history this year, I had a really good teacher that actually liked to teach us, and she was probably my favorite teacher. She would have so much of fun things, and she was a teacher that always talked to me about it and would see me reading my book and like let me read it in class or whatever whenever I finished my work. And she actually understood money in a way because she knew how monetary systems were in the past and which ones failed, which ones succeeded, and how it like affected the society. So I think that's like the reason why if you don't, you need to know the history of it.
yeah. No, and that's big, right? I mean, like knowing the history of like what has worked in the past, what has failed, and it's basically every single fiat currency has failed up until like this point, excluding the US dollar, but I mean, we're still kind of living in that era. So it is, pretty interesting that, teachers and I think that that's kind of like, the what you're describing here with your teachers is just kind of how like the general population is that, people who like kind of sit back and like think about money, how many things that money can touch, those are the people that seem to care more so about Bitcoin, the devaluation of the current monetary policy, all that kind of stuff, whereas like the average person doesn't really want to care about any of that thing. They just want to get their paycheck and not have to worry about
Mhm.
it. So what when you're trying to, I guess, like educate people, the Gen Z population, the GenZ4BTC kind of movement, how are you kind of like approaching that? Are you just, more so, I guess, kind of doing it, spreading it to the masses, like on social media, that kind of stuff? Like, how do you want to get the message out there for everybody to kind of, start to absorb?
Yeah, so what I'm gonna go about right now, I have a bunch of plans, but the one I'm trying to do right now is I don't know if you've seen my example video of the devaluation of the dollar using cups of soda, which is on my Twitter, and that's whenever we took like two different sodas. One was orange and one was purple. Orange was Bitcoin and purple was fiat money, and we would show how over time that purple soda would be like this full the first time, and it would be completely pure soda. So it'd be one full dollar. And then 10 years later, it would still be full, but it wouldn't be a full dollar. It'd be half a dollar. And like you can't buy as much, it doesn't taste as good. Like I had my little neighborhood friends come over and help record me or record us, and it didn't taste as good, and it was fun to do it, but it was trying to show in a visual way that like what's happening right now matters. So I'm trying to go about visual ways to explain to kids in short videos because that's all kids can watch nowadays. Is they can't even watch a 20-minute long video, let alone read a book. So I'm trying to easiest way to get to them, I feel like, is going to be in short content videos, and then eventually I could have like a whole platform and stuff to go to. But yeah, that's the idea, to get kids to just realize that there's another option, and what's our money's not gonna be like how it is now in 20 years.
Yeah, and I think that you have a good plan there because I think the short videos kind of grab people in, and then maybe
Hmm.
they can go find some longer form somewhere else.
Yeah, like that's the idea, just to hook them, because that's all
Yeah,
you
I
need.
feel like that's probably how kind of learned, right? I mean, you had like little things here or there from your mom. She kind of probably told you a little bit here or there. You
Hmm.
kind of just saw it enough, and then eventually you just watched a long video.
Yeah, I
You
forgot
got
the word, but yeah, that's how it is. Like I feel like nobody sees one thing unless you're, or this is for kids at least. Adults, I'm not sure because you guys have bills and stuff, and you guys are already worried about money. But for kids at least, we don't have to pay bills. We have a roof over our head for just living, and so there's no worry for us. But I think if you slowly show just over, like you don't, I think if you force it, it won't work. So I think just slowly say, if you see a little video there, you'll realize, oh, these shoes are like $200, $400 even now. You could, I could have put this into Bitcoin and it would save its value, or this money, like just a bunch of different things that would just click into their head eventually that it's important.
Yeah, and I think that's that's the big thing, right? I mean, it's the touch points is what I like to
Hmm.
call it,
Yeah,
right?
that's the word, the touch points. You just
Yeah.
little things. Like forcing is not a good idea, in my opinion. If any parents try to teach their kids about it, or say they're going to teach it when they turn 13, if they don't want to learn it, they're not going to learn it. If you give them a book, they'll burn it in a fire. Like, if they don't want to read it, they won't try to learn about it. You have to get them interested themselves, and you have to have them question things, like question why gas was less than $1 50 years ago, or like I don't even know that to scale, but like you get what I mean. Why are you always complaining about gas prices going up? Why is everything going up? Why? I don't even know. Just you need to get them the question about what's happening with all our money right now, so they can try to learn themselves.
Yeah, and I mean it's right? I mean, and I know you said adults might not need as many touch points, but I know I definitely did. And I mean, it sounds like your mom kind of ran into Bitcoin a couple times too before she ended up
Hmm.
buying, right? I mean, so it's not just kids. I think it's just people in general these days just need multiple touch points. So anything you can do to kind of I guess spread the word, the better that the message can get out there. So I like the small videos or short videos idea, but for those listening in the crowd, is there anything that I guess the Bitcoin community can help you do to help spread the word? Obviously, interacting with you on social media, that kind of stuff. But anything outside of that you think that you like, I guess maybe need some help with, or have some ideas for that maybe somebody listening can help you out with?
Yeah, so actually one thing I'm trying to do right now, just a little side thing, is we're gonna I don't know if I released it yet completely, but it has to do with saving Satoshis for future kids. And this is just an idea that for every single Bitcoiner, like actual Bitcoiners, if you own one Bitcoin, that means you could definitely set aside $20 with Bitcoin in an account for a kid in the future or a young like adult in the future to give to them to teach them. Like how in my mind I thought of it is rich dad poor dad, when poor dad's son went to rich dad to learn about money, not get money or not learn a skill how to get money, about like to learn how money works. That's what I think of it as. Like you could have a kid and you could teach them about money, you could teach them about Bitcoin, and then sure they could mow your lawn or whatever, and you could give it to them for the original price, which is like $25 or whatever. It could be worth $200 then, and then you could also teach them. So that's what I'm trying to do right now. Because I don't think we've launched the website yet, the little web page, but it's just going to be every Bitcoiner set aside an account with $25, $50 in it for some person in the future, some kid or some even your own kid in the future, if they grow up or whenever you feel like it, you can teach them about Bitcoin and set aside it for them, for somebody in the future. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I get it, right? I mean, it's saving and then passing on to the next generation,
Yeah,
right?
it's like
Like Greg Foss says, right?
somebody that you care about.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for the kids, right?
could be
So
a Christmas present or birthday present because it could be worth a lot more in the future. So that's the idea, is because kids don't get a chance now. So it's just to help a little bit more people in the future and buy up some more Bitcoin.
yeah, for sure. So I mean, you seem like a very bright kid, and you've been going down this rabbit hole, right? I mean, you wanted to go to Bitcoin Miami and learn, and you're actively learning, wanting to put in the proof of work kind of in the Bitcoin
Mhm.
space. So after you've kind of gone through, and you've gone through like the orange pill journey, and now that you're going through all this with Gen Z for BTC, how do you think like Bitcoin has, I guess, changed your life, changed the way you think, and yeah, like all that kind of stuff. I'll leave it kind of broad for you.
So yeah, it's definitely over the last year of me learning changed how I see the world. Like think about like goggles, right? I got a whole new pair of goggles, so I see the world differently. How I look at just when I see it like a dollar bill or $100 bill, see it so much differently now, just like of what its meaning is. Like the meaning of money is different now in my mind. The meaning of American dollar is different now in my mind. I don't see it as, oh, valuable, extremely valuable. You can trade it for everything. I see it as somebody may accept it in trade for something, but it's not like it doesn't have actual value to it unless you trust somebody else to take it. And you can't trust people all the time. People are not known for being the most trustworthy when it comes down to life or death or buying food to live or not. So I think that since it doesn't have actual value, it's just a piece of paper that you hope somebody else will take for actual valued food, gold, water, or whatever it is. I guess it's a very broad question. It I think that hmm, it's just changed how I see. That's the easiest way. Like
Yeah. No, I mean
changed
it
my
is interesting
way of
because
seeing
yeah,
the world.
no, for sure. Because at first, like I think everybody kind of sees, yeah, like you said, like the dollar as like some sort of value thing, right?
Yeah,
if you were to go and like tear a dollar in somebody's face, they'd freak out probably, like the average
Hmm.
person, right? Because you're just ripping up money. But in the end, right, it's either time, energy, it's some sort of medium of exchange, right? Like you used mowing a lawn as an example, right? So how much is your time to I guess mow this person's lawn worth to both parties, and they come in an agreement, right? I mean, it could be something for, I don't know, like, yeah, this person makes you dinner, or something else. It doesn't necessarily have to be money. And so, like, kind of, I guess, understanding that at like a young age, I think is extremely important. Um,
Hmm.
and so, yeah, I mean, I think that's great. But outside of that, just kind of like your view on the world lens, do you think you take anything like, I guess specifically maybe into something when it comes to sports, school, something else where like maybe it's discipline, maybe it's showing up every day, maybe it's something like small, but you kind of, I guess, are more cognizant and think a little bit more about when you go through your day to day.
Yeah, so that's actually a big thing. So being in sports for like the last 3 years, like pretty hard sports, football and wrestling. One big thing is with wrestling, I would say, it's all about who wants it more. So that's literally, in my opinion, the definition of proof of work. You wrestle in a weight class. There's no excuses to you losing except for they worked harder than you, and there's proof of it. And now it just like connects in my mind. The value of the work stays there, and it won't be like, as long as you're practicing and keeping up that like work, the proof will be there as soon as you have that match and you win, you get your hand raised. It's just a amazing feeling of knowing that you did something. And then it also makes me think about, if you when people see dollars and they think that is proof of work, it's proof of you doing something, but it gets devalued. Like, it's so crazy. They say I ran a mile and I earned $10 for every mile. In 10 years, it could show I only ran half a mile, even though I ran a full mile, and it's not worth as much, even though it's the same thing that I earned. So it gets devalued, and I see the relation of that all the time. And same with football. Just if you put in a month of lifting, you'll have the proof of work that you can lift more weight the next month. And it all just makes sense. It all clicks. I've always known, of course, if you do something and you work hard at it, you'll get something in return. You'll do better at it. But it just clicks in my mind now, for sure, now that I'm within Bitcoin.
Yeah, and I think sports are like a great teacher for that, right? I mean,
Yeah,
you brought up
definitely.
wrestling and football, right? I mean, everybody can kind of relate to maybe not those sports exactly, but whether it's running or something else, like you said, right? I mean, you're not going to be as strong as you were the first day you started lifting compared to like what you're at right now, right? I mean, you're gonna
Hmm.
build over time as long as you have that consistency, that proof of work, and everything like that. But it seems like there's kind of, I guess, maybe three sections of, kind of Bitcoin, right? I mean, there's the philosophical section where it's like, all right, it's freedom technology. You brought up the Canadian truckers convoy, like that kind of stuff, like people
Yeah,
unable to confiscate it. Then there's kind of like the mining and sector of it, where a lot of people who work in energy, maybe the computers kind of stuff, and then there's like the developer side of things. At least the way I see it, it seems like you're kind of more on the philosophical side of things. Would you kind of agree with that?
yeah, I would agree. That's what I'm focusing on right now and focusing on putting out, because that's what matters to most of the population. But I think the reason why Bitcoin is how it is that it includes everything. Like, this may not be completely right, but if I'm correct, gold is in a way like that. It's a thing that you can hold, or like, this is one of like why gold is also known as being valuable. It's because you can hold it. It's yours. You own it. You're free to have it. It costs energy and work to mine it, and it also has use in electronics and use in stuff. And that's why it's successful. And Bitcoin is literally just a better version of it, because you can send it and you can still own it, but you can own it online and send it across, and it's backed and trusted, and you have freedom too. So it's like, that's how I can relate it. So yeah, I'm probably more on the freedom side right now and putting that information out. But I think all of them are important. Like, it's all like a tree that's connected. Without one of them, I think it would fall apart probably. So all of it's important. But right now, I'm on the freedom side.
Yeah, no, for sure. I agree with that 100%. And I think, the freedom side of things just really shows like, how money kind of touches almost everything, right? I mean, like,
Mm-hmm.
we were talking a little bit last time when we were hanging out in person about how, you're like big onto eating steak and red meat and
Mm-hmm.
kind of the chicken. You're almost like the carnivore diet before you even found out like the Bitcoin Twitter is kind of getting on there. So, have you kind of I guess gone down that rabbit hole to see almost like how much money touches everything in our society and kind of how like the devaluation of our money has caused kind of like the
The
degradation,
devaluation of our food.
yeah, and
That's
that
one
kind of
thing.
stuff.
I went to the, oh, I forgot what it was called. I
Was
forget
it
what
the
it's called.
sound money, the sound
Yeah,
money?
Sound Money, Sound Food, I think it was called.
Yep.
It was by me. It was a Bitcoin Bay meetup, I think, and we went to a restaurant that all had healthy food that was natural, and we learned also a lot about how money is like changing the way we eat and our health, which I think is crazy. Like we're used to being able to go to the store and get something for really cheap, and then when you see one that's healthy and it's more expensive, we're like, why would I get that if it's more expensive? In reality, what you're getting that's cheap isn't real. It's literally like, think about getting cardboard versus having like actual bread. It's literally just fake and like blasted with chemicals that are bad for your health and cheap to make. So I think that that's also one thing. You're right that with when it comes to food at least and eating not even healthy food, just not like corrupted food, it's important to like know that when it's $5 more for a pound of meat versus one that could have like a bunch of dye in it and one that could like be bad, it's worth getting sound food versus food that could be fake and like corrupted by money just because it's cheaper.
Yeah, I think that's what a lot of people are running into, right? I mean, it's like they need to, make these margins, right? They need to make a certain amount of money, and because everything's getting more expensive, those margins need to, or everything needs to go up in price, or they need to find ways to make the product, a little bit cheaper, right? Which is usually making it fake, making the fake meat.
Cutting out on the food, which I think is not a good idea on your spending spreadsheet. Cutting out on your food costs, like the ones that you buy, eating out, like that's I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like what you buy in the grocery store. Cutting out on the money on that, I don't think is a good idea unless it is a complete need, which really nothing should be over that because that's for your health. Your health is over everything. So I think that why people cut out on it is just because it tastes good sometimes, or you have the illusion that it does because it's corrupted and meant to using chemicals, which sounds weird. Like I had a whole when we learned about it at the Sound Money, Sound Food, we learned about what seed oils go through and the process and all the chemicals, and it was so crazy that some of them are used for like rat poisoning and like some really really bad stuff, and I don't know how we're allowed to eat it or how it's allowed because it's just so cheap to put in and it's is in replace for real stuff and it's cheaper and it's also bad for your health. So yeah, I think it's just crazy. It's a great thing though to learn about.
Yeah, and like that's another thing that we aren't really taught about, right? I mean, you get the food pyramid. I remember learning about in school, right? I mean, where everybody would tell you to eat a lot of carbs and kind of, as avoid the red meats because it causes, heart problems. But if you kind of dig down into that study, it's not necessarily, the best, I guess, human study that's ever been conducted. So, I mean, there's a lot of like misinformation out there. So, when you're I guess learning things in school, right? Have you like kind of found that, I don't know, like maybe this makes you question a little bit more of like what you're being taught in school, or maybe I guess kind of yeah, make you dig a little bit deeper when and then not necessarily, I guess, believe everything that your teachers are telling you, or
Mhm.
have you not gotten that far just yet?
Oh yeah, no, that's for sure. Ever since I started learning about money and Bitcoin, it's made me question everything the teachers are telling us because they're only allowed to tell us what the government wants them to tell us legally. And if they go off track in what they believe, and they could get in trouble and fired because the government wants certain employees and people to be created out of the school system if they don't care what they need to get it. They want workers to go and do stuff and pay taxes, then they'll start it from when they're just kids and corrupt their minds and change the way they think and see the world to, oh yeah, it's fine if I go cut out on food and get a bunch of bleached bread and a bunch of unhealthy stuff, or eventually like lab grown meat or whatever they create in the future. Like they're gonna be like, yeah, you should get that. It's proven to be healthy, because they'll find some like fake study or something that's not true or created by the government to corrupt and alter the way kids think. Because it's like a growing tree. If the bottom of the tree is messed up, then as they grow, you could lean over and fall or whatever. Like I think like in PE, the PE coach is always wrong about when we have nutrition conversations. He's like maybe I could be wrong, but I do lots of research about nutrition because I'm a wrestler and I have to diet pretty strangely. That's how I'm gonna state it. Because I'm like sometimes it's really strict and sometimes it's really lean. Whenever I'm like trying to gain weight, I'll eat like a crazy amount of food. And my PE coach would be like, "That's unhealthy. You're gonna have a heart attack." Or like something bad would happen. And I think that's just because they're eating the wrong foods, the wrong types of carbs, the stuff that is bad for you. And then I don't know why people that are uneducated about it and or not up to date on it is allowed to teach kids and shape the way the bottom of the tree looks for their life and change how they see it.
All right, I have a question. Is your PE coach or teacher or whatever you want to call them, are they in shape? Are they in good like physical fitness? Or I mean, I don't know if they're going to see this, but to me, when I was in high school, mine was not. And so when they were giving us health advice, I always thought it was kind of funny because they obviously didn't listen to anything that they said, or maybe they did, and that's how they turned out like that.
Mm-hmm. That's a very maybe they did listen. And that's how they turned out. Yeah. So no, none of them are in good. I mean, in American, if you think about the average American being like slightly overweight now, they aren't in terrible shape. Like it's not like they're obese, but they aren't in good shape. They are not able to run every single day. They're not in athletic shape or just standard healthy shape. So yeah, I would say they are in they aren't in the right to be telling us how to be in shape if they themselves can't stay in shape. Like I'm sure they were in shape in high school or whatever, but if they can't keep it as an adult, that's the reason why we're learning it, to be able to stay in shape. Because as a kid, you can eat whatever you want and be in shape. But once you get to be an adult, if you're not taught correctly, again, you could fall through in the wrong path and just start eating bad. And it's really hard to recover sometimes mentally, especially with the prices of everything. It's like I feel like the whole world is just yeah, that's one thing. Sorry to go off. Ever since I started learning about Bitcoin, started realizing everything, I feel like the whole world is against you in terms of everything. It's all comes back to money and cost and like survival of people and increasing those profit margins. Like to the where the point they're putting out on health now. Like the average American is overweight, which just blows my mind. Because before there's countries that have it's illegal to cut out on eating things, and all of them are in perfectly good shape. The ones that are it's illegal to use like bad seed oils or bad things. It all comes down to whether they're willing to cut out on your health. So that's one big thing I think. So it all comes back to how you learn and see the world.
No, and I agree with you 100%. And I think it's unfortunate now too, but I think what that makes what you're doing even more important, right? Because, we're having inflation, right, at a crazy rate.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, with 2020 and everything like kind of blowing up, it's even crazier than,
Mm-hmm.
maybe 5, 10 years ago. And that makes it for, kids your age and kids younger than you, and maybe even just a few years older than you into a bad place, right? Because they're going to have to come out of college either one, like earn a lot of money right away, or two, like into massive amounts of student loan debt, and then basically trying to claw their way back. So that's why I think it's extremely important to see what you're doing. And coming from a kid right about the same age as a lot of these kids that you're teaching, I think is even better because coming from somebody either like myself or even older, like a parent's age, sometimes it gets discredited. So, I know you talked a little bit about, the kids, maybe your friends at school or, maybe on your football or wrestling team. But, when you've done this stuff and kind of made the videos on the internet, how do you feel like the response has been? Have you gotten a lot of responses from kids your age, or is it more so, I guess, still like kind of like adults, I guess, trying to help you spread the word?
Yeah, so I'm gonna be honest, right now it's just adults trying to help spread the word, but from the kids that I have shown, they understood it. Like a couple of my friends, like one of my friends, like had no clue about Bitcoin. She like really didn't. She was nice. Like she wasn't one of those people that would like put it off and be like, "Oh, you're stupid Bitcoin." She actually was wondering about it, and remember, I was trying to explain it to her because I wanted to show her the video, but then I couldn't on my phone for some reason. I tried to explain it, and she like heard all the words I was saying, but just had no clue what they all meant together. And I was using simple words too, or trying to at least. Which is fine. That's how I am. If somebody tries to explain something to me that I don't know anything about, I will not understand it 10 minutes later. And then whenever I showed her the video, I didn't even like commentary through it. I just showed it to her, and she's like, "Oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense." And that was crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think like the videos are a great way to visually learn. And I think, a lot of people learn that way, right? I mean, through videos, through, I mean, some people through books, but I think like less and less was, so the more like, I guess, kind of quick hitters like that you were talking about, like, right, like a 2-minute video or shorter, is going to help a lot of people kind of, I guess, learn a little bit more. So you said you went to Bitcoin Miami. Do you have any plans for any future conferences? I know we kind of talked about this like a little bit previously, but yeah, do you have any plans to go to any other ones? And is there
Yeah.
anything?
So as of right now, I'm looking for like the near future, or I'm gonna say I want to get to as many as I can. Like my dream, my goal, as of right now, whenever I get a little bit older, is going to be able to go and speak myself, like in panels and stuff, about getting kids to learn about it and getting kids to teach their parents and parents to teach their kids to get all of that like up and involved because a lot of people still are only stuck on the like boomer money, the people who have money, but I'm worried about the people who are going to get money. That would be a goal, but right now I'm just focused on getting to Pacific Bitcoin, which I'm trying to work on gathering money or seeing who can help me out with getting out there because that's a really, really big goal I want to do. Like my next big step, I was thinking about having a panel with one of my buddies, Arsh, with Generation Bitcoin. He's really smart and cool. And it could be like a little like kids themed panel about getting kids involved or whatever. We're not sure about that yet, but that would be a goal I have to do. Would be to do that and get out to Pacific Bitcoin for my next thing.
Awesome. Well, hopefully somebody watching this can help you get out there. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that'll be some great stuff. But you've been very generous to come on, and you and your mom drive out, and unfortunately it didn't work in person, but we made it work. And so yeah, man, it was great to get to talk to you. So hopefully I could help you out a little bit more. So let me know, let me and the audience know where they can find you on the internet, and yeah, how else we can help you out.
So my name is Benjamin. I have Twitter, and you can also contact my email at at GenZ4BTC at gmail.com. And then my Twitter is GenZ4BTC. So should be pretty easy to find. The 4 is the number 4, Gen Z number 4 BTC, and that's how you can find me. My mom, so if you're like an adult, my mom is also running the account, so don't be afraid to reach out or anything. It's completely okay, and I'm open to talk to anybody that has questions or wants me to talk with them on a podcast or anything. I love being involved and talking to everybody. So, yep, that's me.
Great stuff, Ben. Thanks so much, man. Have a good one.